Today, we have the wonderful Christophora Robinshaw from Dialogue Therapy. So, Christophora, spill the tea on what the journey as a woman in business has been like for you so far.
So I feel like my career and my journey has led me to self-employment throughout.
Yeah.
So I'm a speech and language therapist and I have been so for 13 years. And when I started, I was in an adult setting in a hospital and in community clinics. And I just found that working model quite rigid and difficult when you've got young family. You know, you've always got to be around. And there's not much flexibility in those roles. So I feel like as I've moved through my career, I've always looked and tried to find that kind of flexible model that works for me.
Yeah.
And kind of I moved on from an adult post to a paediatric post. I worked in a school then, and it was a term time only post, which was more suited to having kids because I was at home and I wasn't fighting for holidays over Christmas and summer and things like that. So that suited me really well. But then again, there was that restriction of still working for someone else and having to work in the clinical area that you were kind of told to.
Yeah.
So a few things happened at once which made me take the leap to self-employment. Me and my husband decided to home educate our children.
Wow.
Yeah. And I just thought, right, now's the time. I didn't really want to be self-employed. It's not something I ever thought I'd do. But circumstances were that. And I thought, right, this has to work for me. And so, 2 years ago, pulled my son out of school. He was 8 at the time. He was in year 3. And then kind of set up my independent speech and language therapy practice at the same time, working back with adults because I felt I had a bit more flexibility working with adults. And I was also approached by a friend of mine in an MLM company, a company called Zinzino. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a Scandinavian company where we do blood tests and
I've heard.
we look at you like nutritional deficiencies and then advise you on supplementation. And so I just thought, now's the time, bring it on. I've never done anything like that before.
Yeah.
But I just took it on and I've got 2 businesses now and I home educate my children.
So not busy at all
Not
then?
at all.
You know, not much
juggle.
change
No.
now.
Do you
easy.
bake?
Yeah. Are you that mum?
I'm that annoying mum that makes her own bread.
Yeah, do you make your own bread?
I
I would love to make my own bread. I see all of these Instagram accounts now of we're homeschooling Aurora. We're getting into year 6 and then we're putting her on an online school. Obviously because I just wouldn't be great at creating all of the content that comes with school, especially Key Stage 3. And we're doing that so that we can travel a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm already looking at some accounts and following them and thinking,
You have to unfollow
oh my
because
God,
the standards
really?
out there
They're so high,
scary.
so high. And today we went into the forest and we did X, Y, and Z, and we learned about. And I'm just like, will I get time to go to the forest? Like, does she want to go to the forest? Have we got a forest
When
near?
do I bake the bread?
Like, when do I bake the bread? How do you bake bread? Like, do you buy a machine? Like, it's just a lot, isn't it?
It's
So
a lot to do.
that's
I think it's really important though not to focus on what other people are doing.
Yeah.
You know. So I don't see myself as like a typical sit down and do that worksheet educator. Like I reach out to the community quite a lot. If my son's interested in studying a particular aspect, I will go to that place and I'll say, look, can you do a session for him? Because he wants to know about that. So I'm almost like a facilitator in their child-led
really clever.
education.
I like that.
You know, I can't do everything, can I?
Absolutely, 100%. So what does your therapist business look like then? How do you work now? Do you work with younger people? Do you work with just mainly adults? Or
So I work with adults and I'm specialising working with adults with selective mutism. So it's like a social anxiety disorder. It's what I'm so passionate about and what I couldn't really develop in an employed role because it's quite a niche.
Yeah.
So I think being self-employed and investing in what I wanted to do was also really empowering. So I trained myself up and kind of, I'd like to call myself a holistic speech and language therapist, and where I look at other things and, you know, diet and lifestyle and mental health, because I think you have more of an impact when you look at the person as a whole.
Definitely.
So I'm also doing a nutrition course at the same time, which is another passion of mine, you know, as for making my own bread. So yeah, there's a lot going on at the moment.
Amazing. Fantastic. So can you share a pivotal moment or a challenge that you faced in your career that ultimately led to a valuable lesson? And can you share that?
Yeah, I think for me it was overcoming myself. The biggest challenge was my mindset. of thinking, I can't do this.
Yeah.
You know, I come from a background of, you know, an NHS worker, and you do your NHS course, and there's no mention that you can do independent practice, and there's no business modules, there's nothing. And you go into that NHS role, you're a band 5 or 6, and you just face to face with patients. You don't look at the contracts, you don't look at the budget, you don't have any idea of how to run that business. So I found that really daunting, and I really had to work on myself and my mindset and actually think, of course I can do this. You know, so many have done. So that was my biggest challenge. And also, to add in the mix, home educating. Like, am I going to ruin my kid's life by trying to have a career? And am I going to ruin my career by trying to do this with my kids?
Absolutely. So what did that work look like then? You said you had to work on yourself. What did that look like? And you know, was it a long process? Was it pretty quick? Did you have support?
So I think I reached out to a lot of other speech therapists that had made the leap and gone independent. I think having that support network has been huge. Really, really huge. And I love your events and what you do, because that's been a big thing for me. Just seeing that other women are smashing it and doing it. And I just want to come here and say, you can do both. You can be a mum and you can have a career.
100%.
Of course you can. It's not easy, but you can do it. I also did a bit of business coaching. I reached out to my brother, who is awesome with website design. He's been incredible. He's designed my logo, my website, and all of that. So, you know, I think biggest thing was just networking and people around me and just reaching out.
And asking, isn't it? You know, people are so willing to help in so many different sort of arenas with so many different problems. But if we don't ask, we don't get, do we? You know,
you don't think that they are. There'll be so many people watching this thinking, but do they want me to connect with them? And absolutely 100%. Like, I work with so many student counsellors who, you know, ask questions all the time, and we jump on Zooms and we just give advice around what, like, I wish somebody would have, like, told me to just reach out, like what you're saying now, and the advice that you're giving. Just reach out to somebody who's where you want to be, or where you see yourself in the future, or what you want for your business, and just say, like, any advice.
It's about, as well, not recreating the wheel in that as well, isn't it? You know, there have been so many other people within your niche industry who've set up businesses before, so it's about tapping into how that's been done before, what that looks like, and then what support you can gain from that. And sometimes that is just as simple as a chat around, okay, what have your challenges been? What have you found really difficult? What bits have been really enjoyable? Is it worth it? It's not about always sort of asking straight away for skill swap or for, you know, can you tell me how you got there? It's how you build that relationship with those people within your industry, isn't it?
Just
you know,
watch and learn as well, isn't it?
It's so important. So I've got a few WhatsApp groups of like local independent speech and language therapists, and that kind of community of like asking questions. And, you know, because in the NHS, you're in, for example, in a hospital, you've got your team around. You can ask anybody there. But when you go solo, it's really hard to reach out. So having that kind of WhatsApp group, and we do regular Zoom meetings, I think has been absolutely invaluable. As for kind of my Zinzino business, there's a team of people around me that I have access to. And there's such a lovely community and lovely women that it's really inspiring. So definitely need your support network. I couldn't do this on my own.
Love that. Have you got a homeschooling network? Have you got
huge one?
Yeah. Can I join?
Like a million WhatsApp groups. Yes, please join us. Big community in Liverpool, big community over on the Wirral where I'm from. And again, I couldn't do it on my own. So we reach out, we get the kids together. We'll like almost like a parent co-op, but not officially. Like we'll lead and support the kids doing what they want to learn. And I think the hugest myth with home educating is that they don't socialise.
Well, this is the question that everybody's asking. You know, will she be okay then? Is it what about the social side? You know,
we have too much to do. I have to turn down so much. We're always out in the community, always doing stuff, because my kids learn better kind of doing stuff and go museums, libraries, you know, visiting places. So
I suppose the other big question around home ed is that exam and qualification side of things, isn't it? Because again, like society just expects that everybody's qualified to a certain level, you know, and you've got to have a maths GCSE and a science GCSE and an English GCSE in order to even leave the system these days, haven't you? You know, so, and I know that when you're not in that system, things come at a price, don't they? And there's cost
definitely.
involved.
So we have to pay for GCSEs and A-levels and things like that. But actually there are some colleges that'll take you on and do GCSEs and A-levels alongside the course that you want to do. I think what it's given me kind of is trying to de-school and myself and try and think outside the box myself, because I've been through the system. I've been institutionalised in the NHS and everything.
Exactly.
It's really hard to think that you can do it a different way. But you can. There's so much out there, especially in the digital age that we live in now.
Yeah.
You can do it a different way.
Yeah, it's that brave step, isn't there? Goodness me. So in terms of that then, I feel like we've covered the calculated risks, but building a successful business requires taking lots of calculated risks. And can you share a specific one that you've taken that's really paid off and how you approach that?
I think for me, it was the financial risk of leaving an employed role.
That's huge, isn't it?
It was big because I, had a set monthly wage and we were comfortable and it was lovely to go into then having to rely solely on my husband for that kind of stable income and then me dabbling in this and that and seeing how it goes. You don't know what's going to come in every month, do you?
No.
So it's a huge risk. Also a big risk kind of trying to juggle it with the kids and the home educating side of things. Like I don't know if I'm going to ruin career, kids, how I didn't know how it was going to go, but I seem to have found my rhythm, found something, a balance that works for me.
Yeah.
And
knowing now what you know, would you do it again?
Definitely.
Would you take the risk again?
I'm so pleased I have.
Yeah,
purely because I feel like I found my passion again.
Oh.
I found my niche. I found what I want to do. And I think that intrinsic motivation is so important. And you can lose that in an employed role, I think.
Yeah.
You just kind of go with the flow, don't you?
Yeah.
I think you can lose that in career and motherhood on its own. We just, this is what you've got to do. When that bell goes, you have to get them into school. When that bell goes, you have to get them out of school. And then you've got to cook tea. And then you've got to, walk the dogs and do everything. You do lose a lot of you. And it sounds like you fought really hard to identify what it is that you want as well as what's good for your family. You've put yourself, with them, which is just incredible. And so many mothers will need to hear that. It's not about, I always say to people who I work with, having a baby is, it's a gift. It's another little life to, to nurture, to take care of. But your baby is joining your world. It is up to you to show them, to teach them how to live, so that then when they're ready to move forward in life, they know, what to do. And it's not about going with what everyone else says you have to do around you.
And ultimately they're looking at you. They're seeing life through your eyes. And what you're doing is telling them that I can do that too. It's okay.
Yeah.
So it's really powerful.
And parents who don't go out, and I work with a lot of mums who do isolate themselves because they think, oh, well, if I go out with friends and I'm always out having tea, then or some lunch, it looks like I'm not at home. And that's what mums do, where realistically you're showing your children that you need friends, you need to get out, and you are actually a person behind the title that you've been gifted.
And you can lose that, can't you?
100%.
So my kids get jealous when I have to go for a lunch date. And I was like, I arrange play dates for you all the time. This is my play date.
This is my play date.
Yeah. You stay at home. You need it. You need that kind of escape every now and again. Yeah. And I think that's why I've kept my career. I could have easily just thrown it all in,
Yeah.
But I think for my mental health and my sanity and my identity as a person, I needed to keep it going.
Absolutely.
Because we hear that from so many of our women who sit on this couch and through networking, and, they've given up roles because they can't make that life work. Yeah. They can't continue to have a career and be passionate about that career within the confines that creates and do motherhood in the way that they're expected to do motherhood. And so they leave the career, but they end up, thinking this isn't enough either. There's more to me than this. And I need to use my brain in a different way. And they come to self-employment to be able to use the skills that they built up over so many years to, as their passion project almost. It is an incredible thing to watch. And I think it's also incredible that so many women are seeing other women out there doing that and thinking, do you know what, this isn't what I have to just do. I don't have to settle for that. There can be a different way.
Yeah, there can be. Yeah, it's just being brave enough to go for it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not easy, as you know.
No.
The juggle is real, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, you've both got 3 kids as well. I don't know how you do it, but it's, you know, it's hard.
We don't either.
We don't, no. It just keep swimming. It just keeps swimming. But no, you're absolutely spot on. And most women who own their own business, when we've had that conversation, it has been a force because they could no longer be, you know, we're not employable now, are we?
No, definitely
we're really not.
Isn't it sad though that we feel almost pigeonholed into that position? Like, I felt like
there is no other way.
I couldn't go back to kind of a structured employed role. I needed that ultimate flexible working model to work for me.
Or it becomes really expensive in terms of childcare.
Well, then you end up earning your wage to never see your children in the first place, and you didn't do it for that either, did you? So it is such a difficult sort of pivotal moment. And you say pigeonholed, and I used to say I was between a rock and a hard place. You know, that I could go this way and earn no money for 5 years, and I could go back to teaching and I could earn no money for 5 years. You know, what's the best thing to do in that scenario?
And you always think, no matter what option you take as a woman in business, there's always a guilt.
Oh God,
like we carry this backpack of guilt, and we just, for every situation, we find the guilt, don't we? That we have to feel.
We add it into the backpack.
And it's in the backpack. But when you're a mum as well, it's a sort of, or when you're in a relationship, or when you've got somebody else's needs to meet, whether that's a relationship or it is being a mum, or you've got a family member who depends on you. When you are working on your own business, I feel like some people don't see that as a business, even though it's earning probably more than what your wage was. And it's got the potential to earn more, but work less. I feel like some people don't take it as serious as the title that you get from, you know, a career, you know, being employed.
And we're battling those kind of impressions, aren't we, out and about in the workforce?
Yeah, it's crazy. So have you got 3 tips then that you know will support any woman in business who is listening to this episode?
I think just be brave enough to take that step, and it's really important to know that you can do it. You know, despite what society has told us we can't do, we can so do this. We can juggle, you can do both. It's dead easy.
And you can make bread.
And you make bread as well. You can have all the cake, eat all the cake. And
it's easy as long as you make it your own.
Definitely.
It's hard when you're looking left and right and trying to do it somebody else's way.
Definitely reaching out to your community, however you find that. You know how they say it takes a village to raise a child? I think it takes a village in it, whatever you do. You know, and you need to create that village and have those people around you. Otherwise it is very hard and lonely. So be brave, reach out. You know, find your community, because that makes it easier. Another thing that was brought up before was, you know, it's okay to say no. Which is a big one. Something that took me a while to learn. I was just accepting any patient that was coming through the door for fear that I wasn't going to have any work. But I realised that actually this is not helping me in the kind of the area, the clinical area that I want to work in. So once I started saying no to the patients that I didn't want to work with, I found a bit more fulfillment. I was focusing on the clinical area that I wanted to work with, and I think makes me a better therapist because I get a lot more joy from it. And that's kind of my tips and advice.
That's amazing. That's really, really great tips and advice. Maybe you can share another bit of advice to Cal around how you make the perfect cup of tea.
So
Claire that needs
I've got
advice.
2 answers for this.
Oh God, because there's one to please me and one to please Claire, because we get the people pleasing thing, but there's one answer on the show.
We have a guest go around the world with their answer and just never actually answer.
Right. Now I'm going to answer it, but it kind of depends if I'm making a cup of tea just for myself or for a group of people.
Okay.
I use a teapot for a group of people.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's still used these days.
You like a good teapot?
Yeah. And for me, I'll tell you how I make it for me. So water, your tea bag, you let it brew for a few minutes. Then you take the tea bag out before you put the milk in, because that's just weird.
Well, she needed one today, didn't she?
I love the teapot and I love the tea bag coming out.
And the same with the teapot, you have to put the hot tea in the mug first before you put the milk. Because then how do you know how much milk you need? The colour?
Although my nan did teach me with the teapot that you pour the milk in and let it be at the bottom of the cup. I know that's just like the Queen's etiquette. Apparently, my nan was a very strong-willed woman.
That's funny.
So you put the milk in the tea, the cup
like your
first,
little
and then you
at
put
no
the
point
tea.
ever is the tea bag ever in either scenario when you
No, I
think
get
about
that.
it touched the milk, has it?
Okay.
Which
There you
is
go,
my
another win.
main
It is your main
point.
thing, yeah. But you do
Yeah.
go through a lot of tea bags as well.
I don't.
Well, say if you put the milk in and then it's too milky, what do you do then? Do you waste a whole cup of tea? Or do you just drink it and get on with it
No,
and
I
just
just
not
know how
enjoy
much
it?
milk to not slosh in my tea if I don't want a dead milky cup of tea.
Use like a syringe.
Don't measure me milk.
0.5.
I'm not that much of a weirdo.
0.5.
I have a pipette.
So you are a team Cal, and Cal gets a point for this series, which is incredible.
Yeah.
You have been an amazing guest, and I'm sure a lot of our audience will have taken so much away, especially around the people pleasing and being able to say no, because again, once you say no to somebody, that other opportunity will present itself. So thank you so much for that
Thanks for
reminder.
having me.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.